what happened with Charlie Kirk. Now, I want to make a couple of comments about Charlie Kirk. I'm not going to go too much in it, but when he died over 6 weeks ago, when he was shot right in the neck, from that day forward, I don't think anybody really knew who he actually was. Now, listen to that, what I just said for a second. I don't think anybody really knew who he was. The minute somebody dies, right? Everybody has their opinion. Everybody says, "Oh, I knew him in college." Everybody says, "Oh, I knew him for 30 years. We were friends. We used to meet every Tuesday for dinner. I'm his wife. I was married to him. I knew exactly who he was." Politicians, Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, two people that claim to know him very, very well. Everybody has an opinion on who somebody actually was when the person actually isn't here to defend themselves or to say, wait a second, that's not true. That's not who I am. Posthumously giving him a Medal of Freedom award, Donald Trump. I can't believe they gave Charlie Kirk the Medal of Freedom. What did he ever do? A, Charlie Kirk is dead and can't say that he probably didn't deserve that. B, Trump. He just has to be all pomp and circumstance, which is fine. He's my president. I voted for him. And I would do it again. But there definitely is some things that he does that really kind of rub me the wrong way, but that's all right. Again, he's my president. But back to Charlie Kirk for a second. If you ask some of his friends, they could tell you that he was a very spiritual guy. You ask some people, maybe he was a very loud, boisterous guy. Or maybe people think on the other side that maybe he might have been a racist. Maybe he might have been against transgender people. Maybe he might have been working for the Jewish community, or maybe he might have been working for some other community that was against the Jewish community. Person that's in jail right now for murdering Charlie Kirk. Did he really do that? In 6 weeks, we have posthumously built up this rhetoric of who this person is and who this person was. It's all to say that this is who I thought he was. But at the end of the day, come on. Okay. My wife is a client right now, so I got to kind of lower my voice a little bit. But all right. Anyway, so that's what happens when you do stuff live. But I have to lower my voice a little bit because she has a client in the other room. But what I was trying to say about Charlie Kirk is all this stuff is posthumous. The only person who really knew who Charlie Kirk was Charlie Kirk himself. Charlie Kirk, the man that was sitting in a room at night thinking about what's going on in the world, thinking about going to these college campuses and kind of, educating maybe this young generation of super righties and super lefties and saying, let's all talk. I mean, if anybody out there thought that he had a racist bone in his body or a biased bone in his body, I mean, I guess he was who he was. And posthumously talking shit about somebody and saying, I knew him, nobody really, really knew who Charlie Kirk was. And all this stuff you want to talk about him saying, all this rhetoric saying, all these, how about that? How let's just break it down to all the bad stuff that people say and they think they knew about him. Okay. People saying that he was possibly going to get a divorce. There was divorce papers signed. He had some meeting with Bill Ackman. Whatever you're going to say. But you know what? There's 2 children involved. And these 2 children are going to have social media someday. These 2 children are going to turn on X and they're going to see a video of their father being shot in the neck. They're going to turn on a video on some social media platform like YouTube or something, and they're going to see people talking about how they think he was a bad person. They're going to see people mimicking what happened to him. They're going to see people saying that they're glad that their father is dead. That is so tragic. Now, words, like I said, it's freedom of speech. But these words hurt people. Now, you could say what you want. I have very, very, very high tolerance for stuff like that. I don't take stuff seriously when stuff's said. But there's 2 children that their minds are being molded right now. people pulling them in all sorts of different directions, saying that your dad was this person, your dad was that person. I'm sure they've seen the video by now because it's all over the place and they're young kids, unless if they're being totally taken away from social media. But I do believe that there's two children involved and we have to stop the bullshit. We have to stop trying to silence people when they want to talk, whether it be the truth or not. We have to stop. America, we have to come together more. We have to realize that there's so many bigger issues out there that need to be taken care of than whether some guy wants to chop his dick off and compete in sports or any of these other crazy narratives, whether we need to have the 10 commandments in school or who's a terrorist or who's not a terrorist. Let's all come together and get some common sense, because I'm about to talk about a part of this country right now that is on the border of Canada. And I got to tell you, just from seeing what happened this morning, is they're letting terrorists in. I know I just jumped from Charlie Kirk to what's going on there, but listen, Charlie Kirk, to me, I stumbled upon him about a year ago. I loved listening to him speak at these college campuses. And I don't think that there was a bad bone in this man's body. I think he was a very spiritual guy, but posthumously telling me that I'm wrong for thinking that about a man is stupid. Because at the end of the day, Charlie Kirk was the only one who knew how Charlie Kirk felt. And he's dead. And he can't defend himself on this one. And I am positive that he would have been able to construct a very intelligent, a very bipartisan, very middle of the road, and a very smart conversation for what is going on right now. And I don't think that he would have wanted to be dragged into all this bullshit, but right now he's becoming a symbol of both the right and the left. And I don't think it's fair to his children. But that's what the media does. This morning,